The USS Fortitude was dying, not from enemy fire or battle damage, but from old age. The ship sat in Earth's orbital like a tired old soldier waiting for the end. 200 years of service had left deep scars on her hull, burns from plasma fire, dents from asteroid impacts, patches welded over patches from repairs made across 2 centuries. Captain Jack Mercer stood on the bridge and looked at the stars through the main window. He was 58 years old. His hair had turned gray long ago. His face carried lines from decades of command. Today was supposed to be his last day on this ship. Tomorrow, the Fortitude would go to the scrapyard. Tomorrow, Jack Mercer would retire. The bridge was quiet. Only 12 crew members remained on board. Everyone else had already transferred to newer ships with better technology and faster engines. The Fortitude was a relic. Her weapons were outdated. Her shields were weak by modern standards. Her computer systems ran on technology that museums displayed behind glass. But Jack loved this ship. He had served on her for 30 years. He knew every sound she made, every vibration in her hull, every flicker in her lights. Lieutenant Kate walked onto the bridge. She was 26 years old with short brown hair and sharp eyes. This was her first posting after the academy, and she was not happy about it. Being assigned to a ship heading for the scrapyard felt like punishment. "Captain," she said with a salute that carried no enthusiasm, "reporting for duty." Jack turned to look at her. He saw the disappointment in her eyes. He had seen it many times in young officers who ended up on old ships. They wanted glory and adventure. They got rust and retirement ceremonies. "Welcome aboard, Lieutenant," Jack said. "I know this is not what you wanted." Kate tried to hide her feelings. "I serve where I'm assigned, sir." "That is the correct answer," Jack said with a small smile. "But I can see the truth on your face. Do not worry. After tomorrow you will transfer to something newer, something exciting." Kate nodded but said nothing. Chief Engineer Sam climbed up from the lower decks. He was 60 years old with thick arms and oil stains on his uniform that never seemed to wash out completely. Sam had kept the Fortitude running for 30 years through skill, stubbornness, and what he called creative engineering. "Captain," Sam said, "she is ready for the ceremony. All systems are stable, well, as stable as they ever are." Jack nodded. "Thank you, Sam. One more day, then she can rest." The decommissioning ceremony was scheduled for the afternoon. Officials from Earth Command would come aboard. Speeches would be given. The flag would be lowered. Then the Fortitude would make her final journey to the breaking yards where she would be torn apart for scrap metal. But the ceremony never happened. At exactly 1400 hours, every alarm on the ship screamed to life. Red lights flashed across the bridge. The communication system crackled with emergency broadcasts from Earth Command. "All stations, this is Admiral Ben. We have a code black situation. I repeat, code black. An alien fleet has entered the solar system." Jack felt his blood turn cold. Code black meant invasion. He rushed to the sensor station and pulled up the data being broadcast from Earth's deep space monitors. What he saw made his heart stop. 500 warships. They hung at the edge of the solar system like a wall of death. Each ship was massive. The smallest was 3 times bigger than the Fortitude. The largest was the size of a small moon. Dominion, Sam whispered. Everyone knew that name. They controlled 100 star systems. They conquered worlds the way humans swatted flies, and now they were here. A transmission came through. The alien commander appeared on screen. Was his name. He had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of teeth that looked like broken glass. He spoke in a voice that carried no emotion. "Humans of Earth, I am Supreme Commander of the Dominion. Your world now belongs to us. You have 6 hours to surrender completely. If you refuse, we will erase your species from existence. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. Decide." The transmission ended. Kate looked at the sensor data with wide eyes. Where is our defense fleet? Jack checked the reports. His face grew dark. Near Mars, they were conducting training exercises. They cannot return in time. Then we have nothing, Kate said. Earth is defenseless. A private channel opened. Admiral's face appeared. He looked like a man who had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Jack, the Admiral said, the Fortitude is the only armed vessel near Earth. Everything else is civilian. Transport ships, cargo haulers, nothing with weapons. Jack understood what was asking. You want me to fight 500 warships with one old frigate? I am not asking you to win, said. I am asking you to buy time, delay them. Every minute you give us is a minute for our fleet to return. Jack looked around his bridge. 12 crew members, an ancient ship, against an armada that could burn worlds. We will do what we can, Jack said. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Every face showed fear, but no one ran, no one asked to leave. You heard the situation, Jack said. Anyone who wants to evacuate can take the escape pods now. No one will judge you. No one moved. Sam crossed his arms. I did not spend 30 years keeping this old girl alive just to abandon her now. Kate stepped forward. Her earlier disappointment was gone. Something else burned in her eyes now. I am staying, Captain. Jack felt pride swell in his chest. He turned to the helm officer. Take us out of, he ordered. Set course for the enemy fleet. The USS Fortitude, 200 years old and scheduled for the scrapyard, powered up her engines one more time. She moved out of the dock and turned toward the stars. Toward 500 warships. Toward impossible odds. Jack Mercer sat in his captain's chair and watched the enemy fleet grow larger on the screen. Let us show them what an old ship can do, he said quietly. The Fortitude moved out of like an old man rising from his deathbed. Her engines coughed and sputtered before finding their rhythm. Lights flickered across her hull as ancient systems woke from their sleep. To anyone watching from Earth, she looked like a joke, a museum piece floating toward an army. News broadcasts across the planet picked up the story within minutes. Cameras on satellites tracked the small frigate as she crawled toward the alien armada. Commentators spoke in confused voices. Is this some kind of mistake? That ship is 200 years old. Earth Command must be desperate. This is suicide. What can one ship do against 500? Jack Mercer heard none of this. He stood on his bridge and watched the sensor display. 500 red dots waited for him in the darkness. Each dot was a ship that could destroy the Fortitude with a single shot. Time to intercept, he asked. 4 hours at current speed, the helm officer reported. Kate studied the enemy formation on her tactical screen. They are not moving toward Earth. They are waiting. They gave us 6 hours, Jack said. They expect us to surrender. They see no reason to hurry. Down in the engine room, Sam was performing miracles. He moved through the machinery like a man possessed. His hands flew over controls that had not been touched in years. Come on, old girl, he whispered to the ship. Give me everything you have. The Fortitude groaned in response, but her engines burned brighter. Power levels climbed higher than they had in decades. Sam opened a channel to the bridge. Captain, I can give you 20% more speed, but I need to do something first. What kind of something? Jack asked. The kind that would get me court-martialed if anyone from command was watching. Jack almost smiled. Do it. Sam pulled open a panel that had been sealed for 50 years. Inside were modifications he had made in secret over his career. Illegal upgrades, forbidden adjustments, things that broke a dozen regulations but made the old ship stronger. Time to wake up, Sam said as he activated the hidden systems. The Fortitude surged forward. Her speed increased. Her shields strengthened. She was still old. She was still outmatched, but she was no longer helpless. On the bridge, Kate watched the changes with surprise. What did he do? Sam has been improving this ship for 30 years, Jack said. Command never noticed because they stopped caring about the Fortitude long ago. Kate looked at her captain with new respect. You knew about this. I know everything that happens on my ship, Lieutenant. The hours passed slowly. The crew prepared for battle in ways they had only practiced before. Real ammunition was loaded into weapons that had fired nothing but training rounds for decades. Shield generators were pushed to maximum power. Emergency systems were checked and double-checked. Kate found herself working harder than she ever had at the academy. The old ship demanded more from her crew. Nothing was automatic. Nothing was easy. Every system required human attention and human skill. She began to understand something. The academy taught her to rely on computers and advanced technology. The Fortitude taught her to rely on herself. When they were 1 hour from the enemy fleet, Jack gathered his crew on the bridge. You all know what we face, he said. I will not lie to you. We cannot win this battle. We cannot defeat 500 warships, but that is not our mission. He pointed at the sensor display. Our mission is time. Every minute we survive is a minute for our fleet to return. Every minute is a minute for Earth to prepare. Every minute matters. The crew listened in silence. We are 12 people on an old ship, but we are the only thing standing between that fleet and our home. Today, we fight not for victory. We fight for every second we can steal from the enemy. Kate felt something change inside her chest. This morning she had seen the Fortitude as a disappointment. Now she saw it differently. This ship was a warrior, old and but still dangerous, still proud. The communication system crackled. A signal was coming from the enemy fleet. Jack accepted the transmission. Appeared on screen. His 4 eyes scanned the bridge with amusement. One ship, the alien commander said. You send one ship against my fleet. Is this a joke? Do humans have a death wish? Jack stood straight and met the alien's gaze. This is Captain Jack Mercer of the USS Fortitude. Earth will not surrender. If you want our world, you will have to take it. Made a sound that might have been laughter. Your ship is ancient. Your weapons are primitive. You are insects flying toward a fire. Then we will burn, Jack said, but we will not kneel. Leaned closer to his screen. I have conquered 43 worlds. I have destroyed species that were building cities when your kind still lived in caves. And you think you can stop me with one old ship? I do not need to stop you, Jack said. I just need to slow you down. Some amusement faded slightly. He studied Jack with new interest. You are either very brave or very stupid, the alien said. Maybe both, Jack replied. Considered this for a moment. Then he made his decision. I will destroy you myself, he announced. My flagship will crush your little ship while my fleet watches. Let this be a lesson to all humans. Let them see how easily their defenders fall. The transmission ended. On the sensor display, one massive ship broke formation from the alien fleet, the flagship of the Armada. It was 20 times larger than the Fortitude. Its weapons could level mountains. Its shields could survive nuclear strikes. It moved toward the Fortitude like a predator, approaching wounded prey. Kate checked her weapons console. Captain, their flagship alone has more firepower than our entire defense fleet. I know, Jack said calmly. What is our plan? Jack turned to look at her. In his eyes she saw no fear, only determination. Lieutenant, we are about to teach these aliens something they have forgotten. Size and power are not everything. Speed, cunning, and courage can defeat giants. He sat in his captain's chair and gripped the armrests. All hands, battle stations. Today we remind the universe why humanity should never be underestimated. The Fortitude accelerated toward the approaching flagship. David met Goliath in the darkness between the stars. The flagship moved through space like a mountain that had learned to fly. Its hull was covered with weapons, plasma cannons, particle beams, missile batteries, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The Fortitude looked like a toy beside it. On the flagship's bridge, watched the human ship approach. His 4 eyes showed nothing but contempt. Around him, his officers prepared for what they expected to be a quick execution. "The human vessel is within weapons range," one officer reported. "Do not fire yet," commanded. "Let them come closer. I want them to see the face of their destroyer before they die." The fleet watched from a distance. 500 ships had stopped all movement to witness their supreme commander crush the only resistance Earth could offer. This would be entertaining. This would be quick. On the Fortitude's bridge, Jack Mercer studied his enemy. "Kate, what do you see?" Kate examined her tactical display. "Their flagship has shields 300 times stronger than ours. Their weapons can fire twice as far. Their sensors can track a fly from 1,000,000 kilometers away." "They're modern sensors," Jack said. Kate looked at him with confusion. "Sir." Jack turned to face her. "Their sensors are designed to detect modern weapons, modern missiles with electronic guidance, modern energy signatures. Everything in their database is from the last 50 years. Understanding began to dawn in Kate's eyes. "Our weapons are 200 years old," she said slowly. "Exactly," Jack smiled. "We carry nuclear missiles from an age when humanity still fought wars with chemical rockets. No electronic guidance, no energy signatures that match their databases. To their sensors, our weapons look like floating garbage." Sam's voice came through the speaker. "Captain, I have the special packages ready." "Load them," Jack ordered. Deep in the Fortitude's weapons bay, crew members loaded missiles that had been in storage for over a century. These were relics from the early days of space warfare. Simple, crude, effective. The flagship grew larger on the main screen. 1 minute to combat range. "Opened a channel. Human captain, any final words before I send you to oblivion?" Jack pretended to think about it. "Just 3 words, actually." "Speak them." "Fire all missiles." The Fortitude released everything she had. 12 nuclear missiles flew toward the flagship. They carried no electronic systems, no guidance computers. They were simple rockets with nuclear warheads. Technology so primitive that they had never programmed their defenses to recognize it. The flagship's point defense system scanned the incoming objects. They detected no weapon signatures, no threat profiles. The missiles registered as debris, space junk, nothing dangerous. Until they detonated. 4 missiles hit their target. Nuclear fire bloomed against the flagship's shields. The massive ship shook from the impact. Warning alarms screamed across its bridge. But Jack had not aimed at the flagship alone. 8 missiles flew past the flagship toward the watching fleet. They struck 3 cruisers that had lowered their shields to better watch the spectacle. The cruisers had not expected to be targets. They had expected to be spectators. Nuclear explosions tore through their hulls. 2 cruisers broke apart completely. The third lost power and began to drift. Silence fell over the fleet. Then chaos erupted. On his flagship, stared at his damage reports with disbelief. His shields had held but barely. 3 of his cruisers were gone, destroyed by weapons his systems had dismissed as harmless. "Impossible," he growled. "How did primitive missiles penetrate our defenses?" His officers scrambled for answers they did not have. His 4 eyes burned with rage. "All ships engage that vessel, destroy it immediately." But the Fortitude was no longer where she had been. The moment the missiles launched, Jack had ordered a hard turn. The old ship dove beneath the flagship and accelerated into the confusion of the fleet. Damaged ships created debris fields. Explosions created sensor interference. The Fortitude vanished into the chaos. "Minimal emissions," Jack ordered. "Run silent." The bridge lights dimmed. Non-essential systems shut down. The Fortitude became a ghost, running on the lowest power that could still maintain life support. This was another old technique. Modern ships ran hot. They used enormous amounts of power. They glowed like stars on thermal sensors, but the Fortitude could run cold. She could hide in the darkness between larger ships. She could disappear. Sam activated another of his illegal modifications. The old hydrogen fuel system vented gas into space, creating a cloud that scattered sensor beams. To scanners, it looked like a natural phenomenon, a small nebula of no importance. Kate watched the enemy fleet search for them. Warships flew past within kilometers, their sensors sweeping empty space. "They cannot find us," she whispered with amazement. "Old ships have old tricks," Jack said. "They have never fought anything like us. They do not know what to look for." Hours passed. The Fortitude crept through the enemy fleet like a mouse hiding among elephants. Twice, they were nearly discovered. Twice Sam created distractions that drew attention away. On the flagship raged at his officers. "One ship, one ancient, worthless ship, and you cannot find it. Supreme Commander, their vessel uses technology we have no records of. Our systems are not designed to track such primitive signatures." "Then use your eyes," shouted. "Search every shadow, check every piece of debris. I want that ship found and destroyed." But time was passing. The 6-hour deadline approached, and Earth's defense fleet was racing back from Mars at maximum speed. On the Fortitude's bridge, Jack checked the countdown. 3 hours had passed, 3 hours of survival against impossible odds. "Captain," Kate said quietly, "we actually have a chance." Jack nodded but kept his expression serious. "We are not finished yet. We'll not give up. He cannot afford to be humiliated by one old ship." As if hearing his words, the fleet suddenly changed formation. Ships spread out in a search pattern. They began methodical sweeps of every sector. "They are getting smarter," Kate observed. Jack studied the new formation. His eyes found the flagship, now positioned at the center of the fleet. "Then we must be smarter," he said. "Kate, find me a path to that flagship." Kate stared at him. "Sir, we barely survived our first attack." "We did not survive by hiding," Jack replied. "We survived by striking first. Now we strike again." The old frigate turned toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Toward the flagship. Toward himself. The Fortitude was dying properly now, not from age but from battle damage. Plasma burns her hull. Holes opened where debris had punched through. Half her systems ran on emergency power. The other half did not run at all. But she kept moving. Jack guided his ship through the alien fleet like a man threading a needle in a hurricane. Every few minutes, a vessel would spot them. Every few minutes, weapons fire would chase them through the darkness. Every few minutes, Sam would perform another miracle to keep the engines running. Kate coordinated everything: weapons, shields, damage control. The young lieutenant who had arrived this morning, disappointed with her assignment, now fought like a veteran of 100 battles. The old ship had changed her. The crisis had revealed who she truly was. "Enemy destroyer approaching from starboard," she called out. Jack threw the Fortitude into a sharp turn. The old ship groaned in protest but obeyed. Plasma bolts flew past, close enough to feel the heat through the hull. "Return fire," Jack ordered. Kate triggered the remaining weapons. 2 missiles launched toward the destroyer. One missed. One struck the enemy's engine section. The destroyer did not explode but fell out of formation, crippled and drifting. "Direct hit," Kate reported. "Good shooting." Jack checked the navigation display. "How far to the flagship?" 200 kilometers, but there are 30 ships between us and them." In the engine room, Sam worked with burned hands. An explosion had caught him an hour ago. He should have gone to the medical bay. Instead, he wrapped his hands in bandages and kept working. "Captain," he said through the communication system, "I need to tell you something." "What is it, Sam?" The reactor is failing. I can keep it stable for maybe 1 more hour. After that, we lose everything. Jack absorbed this information without expression. 1 hour. That was all they had left. Understood, he said. Make it count. The Fortitude pressed deeper into the enemy fleet. Ships fired at her from every direction. Her shields failed completely. Now only her hull stood between the crew and the vacuum of space. Watched the human ship approach his position. His anger had transformed into something else, something close to respect. They will not stop, he said quietly. His first officer looked confused. Supreme Commander. The humans, they know they cannot win. They know they will die, but they keep coming. His 4 eyes narrowed. We have conquered species that surrendered at the first sign of our fleet. We have crushed civilizations that begged for mercy. But these humans fight even when hope is gone. They are fools, the first officer said. Perhaps, agreed, or perhaps we have underestimated them. On the Fortitude, Jack made his decision. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare to abandon ship. Kate spun around. Sir. You heard me. Everyone to the escape pods. That is an order. The crew hesitated. No one wanted to leave. Sam's voice came through the speaker. Captain, I am staying with my engines. Sam, you have done enough. Get to a pod. Not happening, sir. Someone has to keep this ship running until the end. Jack did not argue. He knew that tone. Sam would die at his post. One by one, the crew moved toward the escape pods. Only Kate remained on the bridge. Lieutenant, Jack said, that means you too. Kate stood at attention. Permission to speak freely, sir. Granted. I am not leaving. Jack studied her face. She was young. She had her whole career ahead of her, but her eyes held the same determination he saw in his own mirror every morning. Why? He asked simply. Because this morning I thought this ship was a punishment, a dead end, a waste of my time. Kate's voice grew stronger. I was wrong. This ship, this crew, you captain. You showed me what service really means. It is not about new technology or fast promotions. It is about standing your ground when everything tells you to run. She stepped closer. You said every minute matters. Then let me help you fight for every second. Jack was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. Take the weapons console, Lieutenant. Let us finish this. The Fortitude broke through the last line of defense. The flagship loomed ahead, massive and terrible, its weapons powered up for the killing blow. They are targeting us, Kate reported. I see it. Jack pushed the engines to their limit. Red warnings flashed everywhere. The ship screamed in protest. What are we doing, Captain? Something they will never expect. The Fortitude accelerated directly toward the flagship. No evasion, no tricks, a straight line toward the enemy command ship. Realized too late what was happening. They are going to ram us. All weapons fire. Plasma bolts struck the Fortitude. Her hull tore open. Fires erupted across multiple decks, but momentum carried her forward. Jack grabbed the communication system. Attention fleet. This is Captain Jack Mercer of the USS Fortitude. Look at your sensors. Earth's defense fleet will arrive in 47 minutes. You came here expecting to crush insects. You found something else. The Fortitude struck the flagship's engine section at full speed. The impact was devastating. Both ships shuddered from the collision. The flagship's engines exploded in a chain reaction. Her rear quarter tore apart. Systems failed across the massive vessel. In the emergency compartment, where Jack and Kate had sealed themselves moments before impact, the world spun and crashed and burned. Then silence. Kate opened her eyes in darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly. She was alive. Against all logic, she was alive. Captain, she called out. A groan came from nearby. Still here, Lieutenant. Through the tiny window of their compartment, they could see the flagship drifting. Dead. Powerless. The command ship that had conquered 43 worlds had been killed by one old frigate. And in the distance, growing brighter every moment, 200 human warships approached at emergency speed. The real fleet had arrived. The fleet saw death coming. 200 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. These were not museum pieces. These were the vessels Earth had built, fast, powerful, hungry for vengeance. Admiral Ben stood on the bridge of his flagship, the S Defiant. He had pushed his fleet beyond safe limits to reach Earth in time. Engines had overheated. Power systems had strained. 3 ships had fallen behind with mechanical failures. But they had made it. Looked at the battlefield before him. Debris floated everywhere. Several ships drifted without power. And in the center of the chaos, 2 vessels hung locked together in a deadly embrace. The Fortitude and the flagship. Search and rescue teams launch immediately, ordered. Find survivors. He turned to his tactical officer. What is the status of the enemy fleet? Confused and disorganized, sir. Their command ship is destroyed. They have no leadership. Allowed himself a grim smile. Then let us encourage them to leave. The human fleet spread out in attack formation. Weapons powered up. Targeting systems locked onto the nearest vessels. On board the crippled ships, officers argued about what to do. Their supreme commander was dead. His flagship was a burning wreck. The humans they had come to crush had reinforcements that looked ready for war. One by one, captains made the same decision. They ran. Engines fired. Damaged ships limped toward the edge of the solar system. Those that could still achieve faster-than-light speed vanished in flashes of light. Those that could not surrendered or were destroyed. Within 3 hours, the battle was over. The Dominion had come with 500 warships to erase humanity. They fled with less than 200, and they left behind something they had never lost before. Fear. Throughout the galaxy, word spread. One old human ship had held off an armada. One captain and 12 crew members had destroyed the flagship of the mightiest fleet in the sector. Humanity was not the weak species the galaxy believed them to be. Everything changed that day. Search teams found the wreckage of the Fortitude still embedded in the flagship. They cut through twisted metal and burned corridors. They expected to find only bodies. Instead, they found life. Kate was pulled from an emergency compartment with minor injuries. Jack Mercer followed, unconscious but breathing. Both had survived in a reinforced section that Sam had built years ago. Illegal, against regulations, and the reason they still lived. Sam himself was found in the engine room. He had died at his station, hands still on the controls, keeping the ship running until the final moment. His sacrifice had given them the power they needed for the ramming attack. The other crew members had escaped in pods. All 11 were recovered safely. Earth celebrated like never before. The names Fortitude, Mercer, and became legendary. Schools taught their story. Songs were written about them. Children played games where they pretended to be the brave crew of the old frigate. 1 year later, Kate stood in front of Earth Command headquarters. Her uniform now carried the insignia of a captain. Her own ship waited in orbit above, fresh from the construction yards. The ship's name was painted on her hull in bright letters, USS Fortitude II. Kate had chosen every member of her crew personally. Some were academy graduates seeking adventure. Others were veterans seeking meaning. All of them knew the legacy they were joining. Before going to her new command, Kate had one more visit to make. The original Fortitude had been recovered from the battlefield. Her hull was too damaged to fly again, but instead of the scrapyard, she had found a different home. A museum had been built around her remains. The ship sat in a great hall on Earth, her battered hull preserved for all to see. Visitors came from across the planet to walk her corridors and touch her metal. And standing at the entrance every day, greeting visitors and telling stories, was Jack Mercer. He had refused promotion to admiral. He had refused retirement to a quiet life. Instead, he had asked for one thing, to stay with his ship. Kate found him in the old bridge, showing a group of children where he had given orders during the battle. "And right here," Jack was saying, "Lieutenant fired the missiles that started the whole fight." The children looked at the weapons console with wide eyes. One small boy raised his hand. "Were you scared?" he asked. Jack smiled, terrified, every single moment. But being brave does not mean having no fear. It means doing what must be done even when you are afraid. The children nodded with serious expressions. Their teachers led them away to see the engine room. Kate approached her former captain. He looked older than he had a year ago. Gray had spread through his hair. Lines had deepened on his face, but his eyes still held the same fire. "Captain Mercer," she said formally. "Captain," he replied with warmth. "I heard about your assignment, the Fortitude II, good name." Kate smiled. "I had good inspiration." They walked together through the old corridors. Every step brought memories. Here was where Sam had performed his miracles. There was where the crew had gathered before the battle. Every scar on the metal told a story. "We are heading to the frontier tomorrow," Kate said. "Exploration mission, new star systems, new species to meet." "The galaxy will never see you coming," Jack said. "An old name on a new ship. They will think it is a museum piece until it is too late." Kate laughed. That was the idea. They reached the spot where the main window had been. Now it was sealed metal, but Jack stood there anyway, looking at where the stars used to shine. "I have one question," Kate said. "On that day, when Admiral asked you to fight 500 ships with one old frigate, what made you say yes?" Jack thought about it for a long moment. "I knew we probably would not survive," he said finally. "I knew the odds were impossible, but I also knew that someone had to stand up. Someone had to show the universe that humanity does not surrender, does not kneel, does not go quietly." He turned to face her. Every species in the galaxy remembers the moment someone first stood against the darkness. For humanity, that moment was the Fortitude, and that moment is why you can now take your ship to the stars without fear. Kate nodded. She understood completely. "Give them hell, Captain," Jack said quietly. Kate smiled and straightened her uniform. "I learned from the best." She walked out of the museum and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there her ship waited. Her crew waited. The frontier waited. The legacy continued. The Fortitude had proven that one ship could change history. Now it was time to find out what one ship could discover. Kate walked toward her shuttle, ready for whatever the universe held next. Behind her, in the silent halls of the museum, the old Fortitude rested. Her battle was over, but her story would live forever.